Hey guys, welcome to the CryptoMinerBros YouTube channel. This is a specific how-to video on how to set up a new Fluminer T3 Bitcoin miner. So I'm going to go through on how to set this thing up. It's very easy, and we're just going to do like a little overview of this as well for those that are interested in this miner. So thank you to CryptoMinerBros.com. If you guys are interested in any Bitcoin miners or any other crypto miners available on their website, feel free to use code REDPANDA for $70 off your order. Link in the video description. So let's go ahead with the quick overview here of the Fluminer T3 Bitcoin miner. So this is a new home style miner for Bitcoin mining, and the Bitcoin hash rate that this can achieve is about 110 to 115 depending which batch you get. And the power consumption that this is going to utilize, well, there's going to be 3 different power modes, and I'll put up on the screen here the hash rate and power modes that we can achieve on this Fluminer T3. So big disclaimer, actually, before you buy one of these, you want to be mindful of the type of power that you have at home in your house. Okay, so this is one big thing we're going to be talking about as we go along setting up the Fluminer T3, because this is going to utilize a lot of power and you got to make sure you have the right infrastructure to run one of these. But just to show you guys the Fluminer T3, just going around it, it's got 3 fans on the back. It's got an Ethernet port, indicator lights, reset button, Wi-Fi. It does come with the Wi-Fi antenna, which we can just simply screw on here. So I guess this will be one of the first steps that you will do when you unbox the Fluminer T3, is to put the antenna on. Okay, and then there is the C19 plug here. It does come with a NEMA 515 plug for North America, and then also goes into the back the C19 C20 cable that goes into the Fluminer T3. Okay, and so yeah, that's the back area. The top here is just looks like the top cover of the Fluminer T3. Then on the front there's another 3 120mm fans, and then on the bottom, this is going to be the bottom, there's nothing here. So the orientation, when you are going to be setting this up, you got to be mindful that it's upright like this, because heat rises, and so the power supply should be on the bottom. All right, the orientation of the Fluminer should be just like this, because heat rises. You do not want heat to rise up into the power supply, otherwise it's going to heat soak. It's going to cause more voltage usage, it's going to use more power, and it's just going to get hot, and that's not going to bode well for the machine itself. So best to have it upright like this, and all the heat is coming out the back like this, but it rises, but it's not going to rise into the power supply. All right, so let's get it started on setting this up. It's very easy. There are 2 different methods on essentially setting up your, your worker name, your address, and password and mining pool address and all that kind of stuff. There are 2 different ways. So we can either go through Wi-Fi, okay, which we can utilize our cell phone and connect to this thing wirelessly, or alternatively, you can plug in the Ethernet cable here, and that will give you an IP address already on your local network. So in your router, if you have access to it, or another way using maybe advanced IP scanner, you can get the IP address that way and then put that in your web browser, and then you're in. But today's demonstration, we're going to show you guys how to connect through Wi-Fi just by using your phone and then setting it up that way. That's going to be probably the easiest way to set up the Fluminer T3. Alrighty, so let's go ahead. Let's plug her in first. All right, so this end is going to go into here, just like so, like this. Then the other end is going to plug into your wall. And so this is where we're going to talk about the power consumption of this thing. Okay, so I have a watt meter. I'm going to show you guys how much power this thing uses, but let's talk about the power consumption at the wall here. So if you guys are buying one of these things, you have to understand the power consumption of this Fluminer T3, which is going to be using well over almost, I think, 1800 watts up to 2200 watts. So on efficiency mode and normal mode, I have a 20 amp 120 volt circuit here, which can run on that circuit, but on the higher mode, it's definitely going to go over the 80% rule. on this circuit. So I recommend that if you're going to be running one of these things, I would run it at the, I guess, silent mode, which is going to be the lower power mode. And so you're going to be using less power and be within less than 80% rule on this 20 amp 120 volt circuit. Now, most households may have 15 amp 120 volt circuits, in which case the Fluminer T3 will not be safe to run on a 15 amp 120 volt circuit. So that's something you really have to be mindful of. Make sure if you live in an older house, you're probably gonna have 15 amp 120 volt circuits. That won't be enough power. So you gotta make sure you at least have 20 amp 120 volt circuits, or alternatively, if you have 240 volt, if you're in Europe or Asia, you're going to be just fine to be able to run one of these things. But in North America, you're going to be really hard pressed to run one of these things, so you may need to have 240 volt 30 amp connection in order to run this instead. But anyways, just a disclaimer there regarding power. The Fluminer T3 does take a bit of power. Now, as of recording, there are going to be probably firmware updates for this thing, and I recommend if you do have one or an older one and they do come out with a firmware, just go check out Fluminer's website. I'll post it on the screen here. That's where you can download the latest firmware and updates, just in case they have fixes, maybe to make the fans quieter, or give you more hash rate, or use less power. They are actively working on that right now for the Fluminer T3. Okay, so I'm not plugged in, but we're just gonna go ahead, plug it in right here. Okay, it's in the wall, and it's gonna start turning on. All right, there's no power button, so it'll automatically turn on once you plug it into the wall. Okay, so we're gonna do the phone setup way. This should be the easiest way, so let me get my phone. Okay, so we're just setting it up, and you're gonna wanna open your Wi-Fi on your phone, and you're gonna see the Flu T3 underscore, and that might be a different number for you, but it should be called Flu T3. You're gonna click on that, and it's going to connect to it, and then hopefully open up the Wi-Fi page. Okay, the home screen, which it may or may not do. If not, then we're gonna need to manually enter that name into the web browser. So we just wanna make sure. Okay, so the router is 10.42.0.1. Okay, you might get this message, keep using Wi-Fi. Okay, so we're gonna copy this router IP, 10.42.0.1. So I'm using Brave browser on my phone. You can use any browser, Google, Chrome, and I'm just gonna type in 10.42.0.1 in the address bar, press go, and you may get this site cannot be reached. All right, so I believe there's no SSL. So you're gonna need to remove the S at the end of HTTP. So we're just gonna remove this, and then press go, press OK. So it should be http://10.42.0.1. And then it should bring you to the Fluminer default page. Yes, the username and login. So there we go. If you have issues like that with other, Bitcoin miners, even like solo miners like that, remove the HTTPS, the S part, and just make sure it's just HTTP. I've seen that issue more often than not for a lot of people, especially if you're using your phone to access it. Okay, so Fluminer username login, its username is going to be root, and password is going to be root. All right, so root, and there we go. So now we are in the web GUI, all right, the web interface of the Fluminer T3. So now simply we need to set up the mining pool of your choice, okay, which is under pool setting, and we're gonna go in there. And you can see I've already entered in my mining pool of choice. So there is a new firmware update for the Fluminer T3, and in case that needs to happen, that'll have more updates and efficiencies and just fixes that you can have more pool support for different mining pools. So visit the link on the screen in order to update the firmware on this device. And if you need to go through that, it's very easy. Once you download it, then you need to go to firmware update, and you'll need to do this on a computer, on a PC, in order to choose the file and update the firmware. But anyways, going back to pool setting, okay, so you're gonna need to find the mining pool of your choice. I'm using Power Pool. If you guys want to sign up on PowerPool, feel free, use referral code RPM. You'll get 0.5% pool fees off your accounts. So visit powerpool.io. Okay, so once you got your mining pool of choice, you need to make sure you get the Stratum pool URL. All right, so you're gonna be finding this on whichever mining pool that you're on. There should be a get started, and there should be the mining pool server address that you're going to enter in on the pool 1 URL. And there should be backup pools as well. We have pool 2, and then I have pool 3 here as well. So you can enter in all the different mining pools and the different stratums as backup. And then the worker name, you're gonna need to fill in your either wallet address or account on the mining pool you set up. So mine is simply called Red Panda Mining. That is what I used when I first set up the account on PowerPool. Then you'll need to add a period, okay? And then a worker name. Mine's just called Flu3. And then password is gonna be X. Okay, so once you set up the mining pool and whatnot, you can also then set up your Wi-Fi settings. So you'll need to go here, and you will need to connect your Wi-Fi SSID and Wi-Fi password to your local network, all right, so that your Fluminer T3 can connect to your Wi-Fi automatically. So you need to get your Wi-Fi address, the one that your phone is using or your laptop, connect your Wi-Fi SSID after you set up and configured your pool settings and whatnot. Then it can connect to it, put your password for your Wi-Fi SSID, and then hit submit. And once you do that, then you're gonna need to reboot the miner. Okay, make sure you reboot it, and then it should join your Wi-Fi, and then it should start mining. And let me show you guys here the running setting. Okay, this is actually where you can change the operating mode. There are different modes on the Fluminer T3, so I have mine on silent mode because of the power consumption. If I went normal or efficiency mode, I might blow the breaker. Okay, so that's why I'm on silent mode on this Fluminer T3. Okay, so make sure you change that around depending on your power infrastructure. Probably most of you probably want to run on silent mode on it. And yeah, but anyways, I'll put on the screen here again the power consumptions and the hash rate that I could achieve on this Fluminer T3. So anyways, guys, yeah, that's pretty much how you set it up. So let me put in my Wi-Fi setting and pool settings, and then we're gonna give it a reboot, and I'll show you how it's mining. Okay, so here it is, mining away right now. Just started, and you can see there's fan animation there. That's pretty cool. Temperature, it's mining to my power pool right now. Here is the power consumption of the device right now. It's using about 1693 watts at the wall right now. Okay, so 1693. Okay, so yeah, it's also providing, yeah, a good amount of heat as well. Okay, so that's it. Pretty easy to set up the Fluminer T3. I mean, you can also utilize the Ethernet as well if you want to set it up that way. Also very easy method. But the way we did it was through the phone. So yeah, pretty good. Okay. All right, my friends, that's it for this video. Thank you to CryptoMinerBros.com. If you guys are interested in a Fluminer T3, go check them out. Link down below. Feel free to use code REDPANDA for $70 off if you're interested. Link down below. All right, you guys have a good one. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out.